Right. Usually is. W
Yeah.
Welcome to the Friendzy,
Hi, I'm Melissa Carter.
and I'm Jen Hobby.
The Friendzy's mission is to celebrate friendships over 40.
We believe that women thrive through authentic relationships, self-discovery, and spiritual exploration.
Our decades long friendship continues to grow because we are willing to go there and share the truth through life's highs and lows.
That's why the Friendzy is here to hold space for women who are 40 and older because at this age, your story matters more than ever.
I'm Melissa, and when I was in high school, I had 3 piercings on my left ear and 1 piercing on my right ear, even though I knew fully well I was gay, and I was supposed to have the 3 piercings on my right ear if I was gay. But anyway, but yeah, I had 3 piercings on my left ear. And then you can
I
still feel the bumps, but they're grown over.
I
The
did
2 of
not
them.
know that there was a difference with left and right.
Oh, geez. So apparently, and I don't know if this is a Columbia, Tennessee thing but it was the whole, if you're gay, you wear your earring in your left ear. I'm sorry. If you're straight, it's your left ear. If it gay, it's your right ear. So
Oh, so you had the 3 on the left to, like, throw everybody
I
off?
guess, I don't know what I was I mean, it's the '80s, so of course I wanted the piercings all up my ear, but I didn't want both. I just wanted one. And I thought, but I did make that decision. In my mind, I made the decision. This should be in my right ear, but I'll put it in my left. It's just fascinating as teenagers what we think is so important.
You broke
And
the lesbian law,
I
girl.
did. I did.
Breaking the law.
I denied my true self. And I betrayed the lesbians across the nation
I'm
at
gonna
Central
need
High
a
School.
picture of you with the 3 piercings.
With 3
I'm gonna
piercings.
need to see that.
I'm sure there's at least one where there's one holding a key like Janet Jackson, but, you know.
Key like Janet. That is some good nostalgia right there. I love it. I'm Jen Hobby, and I am typically a coffee drinker, but today I am sipping hot tea with
Yes.
lemon and honey because I have attack of the fall allergies. So I apologize in advance to our Friendzy audience because if y'all hear me hacking up a lung like a 100-year-old smoker, I apologize. It's just once a year I get these fall allergies and they attack my chest for a couple of days and then they go.
You're not the only one. There are several people I know that are dealing with this. Mine tend to be spring. So, but yes,
Yeah.
for those, yeah, there are fall allergies. I think for a lot of people, they don't realize that things are blooming now. It's not just a spring thing. So I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I'm
it's a
sorry you're
beautiful
feeling
time of
funky.
year with all the colors changing and all that fun stuff, but definitely something parks right in my throat. But I have a tea question for you, Melissa Carter, because
Sure.
I'm not typically a hot tea drinker, but I've started to notice something.
Hmm.
I think coffee is a 30s and early 40s thing, but now that I am about to be completely middle age and approaching 45, I think everybody I know is shifting to tea. Is this a thing?
I shifted to tea when I left morning radio. But I did it because of my IBS. So coffee is a little
Oh,
aggressive for
yeah.
those of us who have gut issues, but I needed it to do morning radio.
I
And
feel
then
like all my girlfriends have switched to tea.
but maybe it's a thing. Maybe I decided to do that because when I decided to do it, I was in my mid to late 40s. So middle age. It's so weird to say that. It's so weird. But anyway, yes, my middle-aged self. Yes, I only drink tea. I will say that and we'll talk about this later. I had a rough day recently. And on that day I did go to get a pumpkin spice latte. So I'm like, you know
It's
what?
like
I
you
need
if you need the extra caffeine boost, you're going
yes.
for the coffee variety.
And it was so dainty because I'm like, "You know what? I'm having a terrible day. I need some extra juice. I'm gonna get a pumpkin spice latte." But it was very good, and it was
And
from
then
Dunkin' Donuts.
it gave you that caffeine energy that where you
It
were like,
did.
"Whoa, I forgot what this feels like."
Yeah, it did. They're not a sponsor, but I did go to Dunkin' Donuts for that, and theirs is very good, and I'm a fan of their coffee. But yes, it gave me this spark, but I also knew I'm glad I was working from home because, again, I knew that later in the day, I would be
Mm,
inspired to
was
spend some time
not
on the throne. Yes.
Yeah, not a great choice for the belly. Well,
Yeah.
I will tell you from my, voice issues today and drinking tea, I'm think I might be making the switch.
Well, here's
This
something
is so nice.
the last show I was on, I got in the habit, even if I didn't want the tea part, that I would actually just get hot water in the offices, you always have that coffee maker that has the spout where you can just put hot water, and that's for tea use. But
Yeah.
I would drink hot water through the show because that loosens your throat. That helps your throat, where caffeine dehydrates you. So just
Okay.
saying. There's a reason why singers use tea and lemon and those kind of things
Yeah.
to soothe their throats. So
I'm gonna tell you that I am gonna update you on the coffee to tea switch and see how quickly I
see,
can
and there's
make
so many
the
varieties, and you can drink
transition.
and you can drink it throughout the day. That's what I like about tea because I drink, green tea and herbal teas, but I drink it throughout the day, where coffee, I was never able to do that.
No,
So
I
you
can
can
do, like,
yeah,
3 cups and I'm out. That's
yeah.
it.
Where tea, I usually have a cup of tea in my hand all day long.
And then
So
you can have, like, a soothing one before bedtime.
exactly, with a little bit of chamomile in it, have some ginger for after lunch for digestion. I mean, there's
And then, Melissa, when we can become little old ladies, we can go out to tea. We can
see,
have
exactly.
afternoon tea with crumpets
And
and
we
spoons.
can host a tea. Well, and we're not quite at the point what did you say when, with your readers, the chain that goes with your readers, we're not quite at that point
No,
yet. I don't know
can't
what age
go.
does that
Mm-mm.
60? Is that when that starts? 70?
I don't know, I can't do it. I'm not there yet. It's like when I became a mom and I could not go minivan. I'm like,
Right.
I can give over a whole lot of myself to this commitment of raising children, but I am not going to drive a minivan.
Dude,
And
but let
all
me
my
tell you
friends
something.
do, and everybody loves it.
Let me tell you something. So there was one time when Katie and I, after we separated, Katie had gotten a, beach house in Florida for a week, and so she took Mr. Carter down with her, and she had her half vacation, but she's like, "I gotta come back to work, so why don't you come down and fly down and take the rest of the week and have him, and he could be there the whole week." I'm like, "Cool." So I flew down, and I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna rent something to come back." Because it was just me and I didn't want to, I don't know. I was not the parent that wanted to take the baby on a plane, even though I've got plenty of single mom friends who take their babies on planes. I'm not
Yeah.
that girl because
Yeah, yeah.
I got to take a Xanax on the plane. So anyway, I don't want to be stoned with my kid. So, I rented all that was available was a minivan. And so I'm like, all right, I'll do this. And I'm telling you, like I understand because they have captain's chairs behind the main two seats. It's not a bench seat, it's two captain's chairs. And so when you put a baby in there, you can turn that captain's chair straight out to take them out instead of having to be
Mhm.
awkward getting them out of the seat.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
I
so
hear about the
I didn't purchase one, but
I
I
hear
get
about the
it.
sliding doors. I hear about
Yes.
all the
The
benefits of the
room,
minivan, but I've
there's so
never been
much
able to
room
go
back
there.
there.
Like, I can't. You know what I would do before I would do a minivan? Old school station wagon. Do you
Mm,
remember the wood
true.
paneling?
Yes, the
When
wood
we were growing
paneling.
up, the Stay-Wag was the mom mobile.
See,
It
right.
got
So
replaced.
you do
Do they
that
even
instead of
make
me.
station wagons anymore?
I don't know. I don't think they do. I don't think they do. I think anything you see on the
Mm.
road is old school. It's not like a 2021
That'd be kinda cool.
to do a station wagon.
Don't you think? I
I
mean, as
think
long
that
as
some
it was
cars are
safe.
trying. I think like, and again, none of these cars are sponsors, but like, um, Subaru, there's a Subaru, there's a
Don't you have
Toyota.
to drive one of those because you're gay?
I have driven a Subaru, yes.
It's
So, yes, that's
part
the
of
gay
the
car.
it goes right along with your earrings
I know, I need to
on the
re-pierce
right
those too,
side.
but no, I gotta put them on the right side.
There you
No,
go.
and for the yes, so Subaru purposely markets toward the gay community, and so I celebrate them for again, they're not a sponsor. I celebrate them for doing that because they have a loyal following, but yes, I have driven one of those cars. But they have
Is
so
it like a stay wag though?
well, there's
Maybe I'll get one
several
of those.
makes I notice. Like I said, Subaru and Toyota. I'm trying to think of anybody else, but they're trying to play as if it's a station wagon, but it's not. Like there's some
Oh,
models that are very station wagon-y, but
okay.
it's not the full commitment.
Mhm.
So I think they're testing the waters for people like you who might get one. But yeah, I we'll see. I don't know. I need probably in the next year or two. I'm going to get a new car, and I have to think about the fact that Mr. Carter is predicted to be a very tall man. So I'm also
Yeah.
thinking, okay, if he has very tall friends, I gotta think of a vehicle where they can be comfortable. My
Mm.
brother, he's 6 foot and he can he can barely get in my car. So, like, they don't make
Gonna have to
cars
go
for big men
bigger.
anymore.
Yeah.
Big men usually I don't know about your husband because he's tall. What does he drive?
He drives a Jeep, Cherokee,
Okay.
but
Because
it's old. I mean, it's got 100,000 miles on it, you know,
but
so I don't know what the new models look like.
'Cause I'm curious what he will get because yeah, I they don't re the cars are getting smaller, more fuel efficient, and I think for big guys, That's why they drive trucks. That's the only thing they can fit in, right? But I'm not no I don't know if I'm full commitment lesbian to buy a truck. It would be convenient.
That's true.
It would
Maybe
be
I should drive
nice.
a truck and then I'll get great attention from lesbians.
So you'll be cute in a truck as the straight girl, as the lesbian in the truck. I don't know. There's a different I don't know. I can't.
Can't go
Anyway,
full
we're not
truck.
here talking about
I
cars, okay?
know. We're off the rails. I can't go full minivan. You cannot go full
I can't.
truck.
I've been
Yeah.
tempted because
There's
I'm like,
something
"Oh my gosh,
about
the
it.
convenience of a truck." Even Katie's girlfriend said the other day, one of us should get a truck because it would be so convenient. I'm like, "I can't commit to that." Like, none of us lesbians wanna get a truck because it's,
Too
too
stereotypical.
stereotype, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Don't
But
don't put me in that corner.
yeah, but we're not talking about cars today, but we would again, you could always Melissa at thefrenzy.com, Jenn at thefrenzy.com, give us your opinion. I would love to know your advice on a car for big men. But anyway, so what we are talking today, though, one of the things is a case of stolen identity, which happened to me, which was part of that rough day I was talking about earlier, and I'll share that
Oh,
with you.
I gotta hear all the
Oh,
details of that. Plus, coming up, we're gonna answer a "You Don't Know My Life" question, and today's question is, if you could live in any TV show home, which one would it be? That's gonna jog your memory, make you a little
mhm.
nostalgic.
We also have the Friendzy advice column where we take your questions, and this is from Tamara today, and she wants to talk about caring for aging parents.
And I've got a mirror mantra to say to your reflection this week, and it goes
Yay.
along with a little story.
Yay! Oh, I can't wait. All right. Well, have you signed up for the Friendzy weekly email yet? Jen does a fantastic job with this. And this is, we only send it out one time. And it contains so many things that you need to know from the show, deep dive into the show, links. We make it very easy for you. So please get a part of that weekly email, subscribe to it. And it's how you do it. You go to frenzy.com today. And also don't forget, we have a private Facebook group, and that link is in that email as well. Frenzy.com, thefrenzy.com. thefrenzy.com is the email or is the website. Jeez, to get the email. You think I was sick today.
We're gonna get you another latte.
I know, right? I do. I know.
No, I know how that feels. And we want to say a big thanks to our listeners who have subscribed to our email list already. Shout out to Allison Hunter, Mara Archer, and Gail Fitzgerald. Thank you so much for signing up.
And again, they did that at thefrenzy.com. And so, Jen, we are going to dive into the story of my identity getting hacked, of terrible customer service here in a minute. But first, let's thank our sponsors. Cat pajamas and my windows open, so my neighbor's like, what the hell just happened?
Kick it.
KickItPajamas.com, and for a 10% discount, use the code Friendzy. Lifeline screening. Hey, I hit a note. LifelineScreening.com. Use the code FRIENDS without the Y, and they'll know that we sent you and we appreciate it. Jen couldn't hit those notes today, but maybe next week after she starts drinking tea.
Yeah, maybe. Not today. Not today.
A case of stolen identity, Jen. And it's bad customer service too. So for those who are watching YouTube, because we have a YouTube channel, and you can go to youtube.com, find us. But I am wearing the glasses again that I bought that still have the logo there because the place won't take them back.
You can't scrape them off.
$200. I'm just going to say it out loud for something that
$200 on your pretty frames.
and I tried to
now
pop out,
has
and I tried to
logo.
pop these out. I'm like, I'm just gonna pop them out and just have frames with that. And I guess glasses today are made so that they don't just pop out like you used to. Old glasses, you could anyway. That's not the story. But customer service sucks. So the customer service at this place sucks. I'm still gonna fight to try to get new
Yep.
lenses in here. But so Jen Hobby, I used to travel, and I have memberships and rewards, accounts with different hotel chains. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was checking email the other day, and I got an email from one of these, and I won't say their name. And they were like, "Hey, it's almost time. Check-in's at 4:00. We look forward to having you come to blah 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 hotel in Austin, Texas."
Blah, blah, blah hotel in Austin, Texas.
In Austin, Texas. I've never been to Austin, Texas. I don't do business in Austin, Texas. I have no plans to go to Austin, Texas. I'm in the middle of a pandemic. I'm sitting tight. So I was like, I didn't
Oh,
make a trip to Austin, so it said, and it's one of those emails where it's like, "Okay, confirm or cancel." So I hit cancel, of course, cancel. And at that point, fortunately, I was able to get into my account and cancel the reservation. And then they came
wow.
back and said, "Well, that's gonna be a $300 charge because it's a little late to be canceling." So I
Uh-uh.
was like, "No." So the first thing I did instead of calling the hotel is I called, and I will say American Express because they do have great customer service. And I called American Express because that's who I use when I travel. "Hey, just letting you know, this company is trying to charge me this amount, and I did not make this reservation." Amex is like, "Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it, and we'll freeze this card. We'll send you a new one." Because I was like, "I have my card. I don't know why nobody
How
stole it."
yeah.
But they're like, "Somebody could have swiped your number." They said, "We'll just play it safe. We'll send you a new one. Don't worry about it." Okay, cool. Thanks so much. And then I
Okay,
went on
so the
about
customer service is off to a good start.
at Amex, yes.
Okay.
So I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I don't think anything about it. And I go on about my business. I did not call that hotel because I canceled it. And I'm like, screw them. It's not going to be charged. So no, who cares? So then 2 days later, I get an email that said, "It's almost time. Your stay at the blah, 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 another hotel under the same chain in Austin, Texas. Start you to check into is today at 4
Dude,
o'clock.
they tried twice?
4 o'clock." So
Whoa.
this time I called the hotel company because I figured out when I tried to log in to my account, I changed the password because I'm like, somebody, I figured out that somebody had gone into the hotel account, not the
Yeah.
MX account. And so I went into the hotel account, I changed the password. And then when I went back in to try to re-log in, I did not recognize the username. So I called the hotel. Which
Mm-mm.
which this hotel chain, and you can always email me to find out who it is because I will never stay there again. But this hotel chain, like, on their website had no phone number, right? Because I couldn't get in my account to contact anybody, so I had to Google their phone number because their website whatever. So I thought that was suspicious. So then I call because this is a hotel chain that merged with another hotel chain in the past few years. And so they obviously don't want you to call them. So I called them, found the number, called them, was on hold for like 10, 20 minutes,
Ugh.
finally got somebody. And I said, "Hey, just to let you know, somebody has gotten into my account, changed everything, and I not only got the you're about to get a stay, I got another email saying there was a third stay." So somebody was, and it was all in Austin. So somebody was staying 2 nights apiece at all these hotels around
They're
Austin.
like, "We're gonna double down."
So I
Wow.
said, "This is not me." And so the woman's like, "Well, can you verify your phone number?" It did not match. "Can you verify your address?" It did not match. I said, "Somebody has literally gone in here and changed everything and is pretending to be me." And I said, "I've already frozen my credit card, but the person is probably it's in your hotel right now." Like I said, "Whoever this is in the hotel." And so she's like, "Okay, well, I need to send you to somebody else." Now, normally in customer service, when you send to somebody else, you immediately get there. She put me on hold again for 20 more minutes, put me back in the queue line, got
Oh,
Greg.
no.
I will call this guy's name out, Greg. Greg got on the phone. I explained to him, "Greg, this is not me. Can you verify your phone number? It doesn't match." And he said, "Well, ma'am, this doesn't match." I said, "I know, because this is not me. Like this." And he said, "Well, can you
Right.
verify the address?" "Ma'am, this doesn't match." I said, "Greg, do you not understand? I'm telling you, I've been hacked. Like somebody's." And then he's like, "Well, can you tell me an old address or something?" Like, and so then he said, "Okay, so what you're telling me is," he said, "your most recent stay. When was your most recent stay?" I said, "I haven't been in a hotel in at least 2 years." He said, "Well, that's not what our records show." I said, "Well, somebody's been in Austin, and I know that, but it's not me." And so he's like, "So what you're telling me," and I got so frustrated. I said, "Greg," I said, "This is not me." And he said, "Ma'am, don't interrupt me." He said, I don't need to take this."
No,
And
he did not.
he hung up on me.
You have gotta be kidding me.
He hung up on me. And so and I'm sitting in the grocery
Oh,
store. I'm in the car
no.
doing all this. I'm trying to run errands because I got other things going on, and I sat in the parking lot of the grocery store going, I can't believe this just happened." And I mean, I was on fire. And so I called MX, and I explained to them what was going on. I said, "If you ever get a charge from this hotel," and she said, "It's taken care of. We've frozen it, but we'll make a note that anytime this hotel shows up, it is a fraud." And I said, "Thank you." And So there's strongly worded letters to the executives at this chain, at these hotels in Austin, to just let them know what's going on, and that Mr. Greg took the action he took, and that this
Whoa.
that he
That's like worse than the cable company. And most cable companies are terrible, right? I mean,
yes,
most,
yes,
that's usually the biggest customer service complaint that I hear is from
right,
every
cable
cable
company.
company under the sun, not even like singling one out, just everybody.
Well, this hotel chain, I'm telling you, it's like
Oh,
I'm not just, saying, "Oh, screw I'm not trying to be a Karen. I'm not trying to say, "You know what? I'll never stand you." It's like Greg's actions like, "Oh, I will never," because customer service.
wow.
And so, yeah,
So,
yeah,
what do you think happened? Do you think somebody hacked into your account and was trying to stay as you and use your points? Because
use
you
my
said you
points,
had
use my
racked up a
credit
lot of
cards,
points.
use my credit card, use my
Okay.
points. Like they went into were able to hack in my account, and they're having a good time in
It's
Austin.
just staying for free on your travel reward points. So,
Yeah. And I think they're doing
it
2 days at a time because that way, if they get at least they can get something in instead of getting kicked out of a hotel. Like, they're pushing it until I realize what's going on, and then I
wow.
stop the process.
What
But
a
then
racket.
the Amex person, like, when I was telling them about it, and I told them about the hotel chain and how they treated me, and she's like, "Well, that's kinda dumb because they have the person who's doing it right there under their nose, and they're not willing to find them." Like, that's
Bizarre.
fraud. That's
Because at one point when you were telling your story, I thought, well, maybe the account information got swapped. Like, okay, let's just say, for instance, could it be that this person was using their own points, but somehow in the system, your email got mixed with their email? Like, I don't know how that happens, but let's say there was like
right.
some sort of technology breach or something, and something got mixed up. And this could be a legit person, but the emails are just coming to you with their hotel reservations.
Exactly, and I wasn't angry when it first happened. I just wanted to make sure I didn't get charged, right? So that's why I called the credit card company, and then I didn't think twice about it because I thought, "Well, it's a one-time incident, it's no big deal." I didn't think about somebody actually going it so then when the first woman who transferred me to Greg, the first woman said to me, "There are whoever's been in there is splintering it into several different accounts. Like they're trying to use it as a source to kind of launch into other accounts." And so she's like, "Hey, we
Ah.
got 3 different accounts here." And she's like, and she seemed concerned. So she was like, "Okay, well, let me." So she,
She
but Greg,
acknowledged this is an issue,
but
and
Greg,
then
I think Greg thought I was the fraudulent person. And
oh,
what I
no.
did, anyway, so this hotel chain. And again, I don't my point is not that, "Oh, woe is Melissa," but it's just
Yeah,
the conversation of, you know, I don't know, we've gotta change the way we do business because people sometimes need help, and I know I've done customer service, and I know being yelled at all day is not fun, but some of those people that are yelling at you have legitimate reasons to be upset, right?
yeah.
Not everybody is trying to just make your day hard or get away with something. And so that was frustrating to me that Greg, just automatic and he hung up on me. Like, I can't I
He
was
should
like
get fired for that. You cannot work in
exactly.
customer service and hang up on a customer.
"Don't interrupt me, ma'am." It's like, "Oh, no, you
Oh,
didn't." Like, I
no.
was so pissed at him.
Yeah, how about you mansplain that to me one more time, Greg?
Yeah, and then since their website only had social media on there to get in contact with, I posted on Twitter. I'm just like, I don't know if anybody else is having problems with this particular chain. Again, it's at Melissa Carter on Twitter in case you wanna know who this is.
Yeah.
But I will never be here again because I just got hung up on my customer service when somebody, on my dime, is having a good time in Austin. And so they wrote me back a personal direct message. But again, it was just with this language of, they're like, "We're sorry, but, like, so did are you out any charges? Did somebody try to charge for the," like, they are dim-witted, dumb people who are working at this company. I mean, and I don't mean to be so insulting, but it's like when
Mhm.
somebody tells you, as we speak, there's somebody in your hotel room that's playing to be me. And you're like, "So what you're saying is," like, using the whole psychology, "So what you're saying is that you did not make this reservation?" And I'm like, I feel like I'm a senior trying to talk to a kindergartner. But anyway, that was like a several day ordeal, having to sit on the phone for too
Awful.
long. Except at MX, I will say. I again, they're not a sponsor, but they were just the bright light and all that because they were the ones that were there
Yeah.
immediately. They took care of it. They talked me off the cliff and they got it done.
That's
And
what they're known for, right? That's their whole deal.
yeah.
And maybe they will be a sponsor. Maybe we'll send them this
This
episode
this
of the
audio yes,
podcast.
just to say thank you. Thank you for, like, at least not treating me like I'm an idiot. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing, like, because I don't jump on the phone screaming, but with Greg, by the end of it, I was yelling at him, and he hung up on me.
Do you think that, karma comes back around for people like the people that were trying to steal your identity? Hold,
I do
please.
think you attract bless you, love.
Excuse me.
I do think you attract your life. So I don't know about karma because I think the true tradition of karma we kind of mess up a little bit in
Okay.
Western culture, but I do believe in the law of attraction. I do believe in that. So I think that if, whatever your vibe is what you're going to get. So I mean, and I didn't have to pay. I don't have to work. You know what? I don't care about those people. Right? I just want to make sure I didn't get charged and I didn't get
Mhm.
charged. So whatever happens to them, but it's just interesting how you have stolen identity and fraudulent activity happening and the person is sitting there's it's not a complicated case to solve.
Right,
But
the answer's right there. I will
yeah,
tell you, I had a case of stolen identity as well. This was probably about a year and a half ago, and good customer service came from Macy's
okay.
because it was somebody had somehow gotten my information, all my information, like they had it all, and opened up a Macy's charge account.
Mhm.
But the charges were happening in Massachusetts. So
Mhm.
they were going on a little shopping spree, and I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and so somehow in the Macy's billing department, they kinda caught the discrepancy that a
Right.
lot of this was happening in Massachusetts, and they were the ones who actually reached out to me and said, "Have you been traveling there?" "Have you?" And I'm like, "No, what has happened?" And the woman on the phone's like, "I'm not supposed to tell you a whole lot." She's like, "But we'll obviously end this and end the charges and end this account." She's like, "But they have all your information." I was like, "My name?" She's like, "Uh-huh." I'm like, "My number?" "Uh-huh." And I'm like, "Can I keep asking you questions?" And she goes, "Uh-huh." And I was like, "Do they have my social security number?" And she goes, "Uh-huh." And I'm like,
Wow.
"How did they get it? Who knows?" Right?
Right. Well,
Um,
yeah,
so
and
we
that
had to go
yeah.
through a lot of different things, through like the credit bureaus and our credit, all of our institutions and just give everybody a heads up that somebody had all my information. And the woman even said they had created a fake ID with my photo.
What?
Yes, because they had yeah,
Wow.
because sometimes if Macy's has a question, they'll ask for photo ID to go along with your credit card, and they had a photo ID. Crazy, right? Yeah.
Wow.
The criminals get really, really expert at this because I guess they get away with it enough times that it's worth the risk. I don't know.
I guess, well, and it's usually quick because I think they know they're about to get busted, so that's why they do like, there's one time I lived in an apartment building, and I was offered a credit card in my box at the apartment, but I never got it. Somebody stole it out of my box, right, and then filled out the application as me and was able to get it, and they went on a shopping spree that for the first hour, they hit, like, 6 stores, right? So it's like the person knew as soon as I was contacted or soon I don't know, I forgot how because how would I be contacted if they stole the
Yeah.
application? But anyway, somehow I figured it out and we stopped it, but yeah, it's a quick hit and run, and then they move on to the
Mhm.
next piece of information, but that person was like they're like, "Oh, we got this woman in Atlanta, so we can use this longer than just for an hour to make an ID and everything." They must have loved Macy's.
I guess
If that's
so.
because I mean
They're dressing a whole lot nicer than I am. I mean, when this happened, I was like, "Damn, I haven't been shopping in years. I wish I had all those clothes."
Well, the good thing is that companies are savvy to this, and they usually don't
Yeah.
give you a hard time about it, right? They have insurance for the I know it's frustrating and it's costly for them, but they do have insurance that covers them on all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so the good thing is you don't have to plead with companies if it's an isolated incident. Like I said, I didn't have to spend a week proving who I was. It was one phone call to a credit card company, and they're like, "Okay, no big deal. We'll wipe it off."
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I guess
But
that's the good news from it being so pervasive,
I
right?
right. I know, it's a
So that's
shame.
a silver lining, Melissa Carter, silver lining.
Exactly. Ugh,
Okay.
Greg.
Well, let's grab a question out of the You Don't Know My Life box.
You Don't Know My Life, a board game that we love to play that was created by a friend of mine. And you could steal this for dinner with friends when you start going out for road trips. This holiday season, if you're getting out, you were about to get the kids vaccinated. So let's go ahead and start traveling and see family. You can play this, and it's a lot of fun. So today's question is, if you could live in any TV show home, which one would it be? I love this question.
My first thought was Full House.
Okay.
Okay, I loved watching Full House when I was growing up, and now there's Fuller House that my
Right.
daughters like to watch. But I grew up in Florida, so in Florida, everywhere is flat, right?
Hmm.
And most houses are
Oh,
ranch homes. And or in Full House and in Fuller, I'm not sure the house in Fuller House, but in Full House, they lived in San Francisco,
yeah.
and they had like a townhouse that when they when they would pan to the front of the house, it went straight up and it had several floors and it was on a hill and it seemed exotic to
Right.
me being a Florida kid. So if
Cute.
I could live in any TV show home, I would be moving in to Full House with Uncle Jesse.
I love it. I love it. And you coulda gotten into a good school with Jesse's wife. She woulda gotten you into
Oh, true.
yeah, because
Yeah.
she
Just
woulda cheated her way into getting you a
I
school.
would
I don't
have
know.
been a
That's
rower.
that was yeah, that was low-hanging fruit. That's a terrible joke. Okay, so the house that, came to mind for me first was Beverly Hills 90210, the Walsh's house,
Oh,
because I think it'd be cool to
yes.
be in Beverly Hills, but they had the Spanish house, so they had the
Oh,
rounded doorways, and they had the little roses that were it's very yeah, it was very Spanish looking, and it seemed like, even though they're in Beverly Hills, it seemed like a cool house and a normal house, not a too richy rich house.
yeah.
And it seemed homey, but yet you were in the middle of, California and Beverly Hills and all that stuff.
Posh.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I would hang out with Brandon and Brenda Walsh
Yes.
in their house.
That is awesome. I love it. I thought for sure you were gonna say the Brady Bunch house.
I
I don't
that
know
cr
why I thought
It
that was gonna
crossed
be
my
yours.
mind. It crossed my mind, but I will say that my parents built our house in the '70s, and so there was similar decor.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think the Walsh's house with the Spanish style for some reason. But I did think of the Brady house, but it's a little too dated at this point,
Yeah.
I think.
You know which other one I thought of was the Home Alone house?
Oh, yes.
Remember the Home
Oh,
Alone house,
yes.
like,
Oh,
in
that's
the
a great
suburbs,
house.
you
Yes.
know? And it had, like, the fun staircase that he was playing on.
Yes.
That one was on my mind because did you know that they have created a new Lego set that is a replica of the Home Alone house?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's new. It's very expensive. So it's for like the Lego collect. I think it's like
Of course.
$600 or something crazy,
Yeah.
but it's like a complete Home Alone Lego replica, even with like the creepy neighbor. Do you
Oh,
remember the next door
really?
neighbor that was taking out the
Yes.
trash that he was scared of? They're
And
all
he
in like Lego sizes.
and he ended up being the sweetest guy. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's a great neighborhood to and I think you add the snow to it and the just
Yeah.
the because it was a Chicago neighborhood because that reminds me of, like, Uncle Buck. I don't know,
Yes.
it seemed
Uncle
like
Buck.
the
I love
same
that movie.
neighborhood. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a
Again,
great
very
question.
different from Florida. It was very exotic. They had snow.
Yes, exactly, right?
Okay, it is now time for Dear Friendsy. And today's Friendsy advice column question comes from Tamara, and it's about caring for aging parents. She says, Jen and Melissa, my brother is not helping to care for our parents, and it's driving me nuts! Exclamation point. He's
Mm,
always too busy, and he doesn't make them a priority. Our mom and dad still live alone separately, and they have both recently lost their driving abilities.
mm.
Now I'm the only child driving them to the store, doctor's appointments, and activities. How do I get him to step up.
I
This
think this
is
is very relatable.
yes, a familiar topic with everybody's parents getting older at this point.
Yeah.
Melissa, you have been through both of your parents aging and
Yes.
passing. Did
Yes.
this happen with your dad and your mom?
I'm on the other side of all this. Yes, with dad, my mom was still young enough to care for him, with my
Mhm.
sister and brother's help. So I live in Atlanta. They live in Nashville. They lived in Nashville. So weird to talk about your parents in past tense, but they
Mhm.
lived in Nashville. And I was young and starting my career. So my father, I was much younger, than my siblings and my parents. And so I just remember with my father, it was more of my mother pushing me to maintain my ambition and don't feel guilty and don't worry too much about it. And I got it covered. And then they had hospice care. So dad was at home, with home hospice. So that wasn't a big deal because mom was still there and she was still active and healthy and strong. But when mom, got older and she started declining. She had probably a good 6 months of decline before she passed, and she was home for most of that, and then she went into hospice care for only, like, a couple days, like, she went quickly, but it naturally fell on my sister, and so in our situation, I have a oldest sister, a middle brother, and myself. And when mom was getting frail, she lived in Atlanta for a little bit. She wasn't frail then to be with her grandson, but when she got frail, she went back up to Nashville to her own home. She never sold her home when she lived down here. And my sister, it just happened that my sister's career was kind of flat. So she had the opportunity to move in with my mother and take care of her. My mother took care of her financially. And my brother was in the same town. And then I had young Mr. Carter. And so my siblings and I communicated a lot because my brother and I offered, in her case, her brother's not offering. We offered, with my sister, we communicated like, what can we do to help? And my sister, there was a part of her that wanted to do this for my mother. And
Mhm.
she was giving me, a break because she's like, you've got a young child, you're a caretaker too. So don't worry about it. Um, but I think you also have to understand that the siblings of people I know, friends whose siblings did not step up, they may be more upset about it than you realize. So I think that you also have to take into consideration that brother. I question whether how upset that brother is at the parents getting older, because some children can't handle it, like just period.
Oh, wow. I had never thought of it in that way.
Some children cannot handle watching their parents grow old. It's hard. It is so unnatural. It's all natural and yet it's so unnatural because I'm still 6 years old. I mean, I still when it comes to my relationship with my parents, I'm still a little kid and they're my caretakers, and to be their caretaker is a really it's hard. It's hard. It was hard to watch Millie Pete decline, and it was hard to watch Millie Pete, end her I mean, her life end. Um, but it's part of it, and you gotta step up. I was raised in a family where you step up, you suck it up and you move forward, and it's a part of life. Like, my parents did not coddle me into thinking that I could get away with not participating in death, in any so anyway, I think that my opinion is that I think you can't expect your brother to do something just because you're thinking it. You have to have a conversation, and unfortunately, whether it's fair or not, you may have to initiate that conversation. But I also think you should challenge that sibling on, why, are you upset by this? How do you feel about this? Instead of attacking them, I think you should ask, how do you feel about seeing our parents
Mhm.
do this?
That's
And
a
then
great question
and then
because
all yeah.
it's coming at your sibling from a very empathetic place
Mhm.
versus an accusatory place, because Tamara might be going, "How can my brother not notice that I'm driving them to the store, taking
Right.
them to all the doctor's appointment?" Like, she's in it and doing all the things, and maybe the brother isn't aware of all the things that she's taking care
And
of.
if you don't mind me jumping in and adding to this, there's all you have to Tamara, only you can determine your family dynamic.
Mhm.
I one of the things that Katie and I are trying not to do with our son is make him into the man that sits around and watches the women do the work. I
Mhm.
think that's too many times, boys are allowed to not do as much as girls. I think too many times we give the message to girls, even to this day, that you should be good in the kitchen. and that boys don't have to be. And I think that there's too many times where you see the mother clean up after the husband, and so the daughter cleans up after the brother. So I think that also, if you're in that situation, a brother is trained to not do anything and to let the girl do it. So he may also not be aware that you need help because you may not have asked for it. And so
Mhm.
I think you have to give your brother the benefit of the doubt to ask first, and then if he can't do it, then charge him, send him an invoice.
Oh, that's good too. Because she did write in here, "He's always too busy."
Well, then I
So
think he's
that
emotionally
to
upset.
me comes across that maybe we're decoding the message here, but to me, that means she has asked
Right,
if he has said, "I'm too busy,"
right.
or "I'm not available to take them to this doctor
Then
or
I would
that doctor," or
then I would
whatever
call him
else.
to task. I would say, "You obviously cannot handle this." I mean, I would challenge him. I mean, because men don't like to be told that. If you really wanna get him, say, "Well, obviously, you cannot handle this. You emotionally cannot handle watching them do this. So how about you fund this?" If you can, this, it's fine if you, because you have to come up with a balance. Like with our sister, she did a lot. Like she busted her ass for our mother. And so, I mean, I was always trying to send her supplies, things she needs. Tell me what you need. Like, what can I, what is there equipment in the house that you need for mom? Like, what can I do? Because if I can't be there physically, I can be there financially. That you
Mhm.
shouldn't have to worry about all this. That's the thing is just, yeah. So also decide, instead of being angry with him, decide, well, what can he do realistically that would actually make your life easier? And if it is financing, great. If it's supplying equipment, great. Like you just have to, unfortunately, that's the thing. It's like, and parents need to understand this about your children. Like there's a reason why your children need to get along, because in life's challenges like your death, these siblings are going to have to work together
Mhm.
to make this okay. You
Because,
can't, yeah,
yeah, you don't want to become resentful,
right.
right?
Sounds like she
Because
already is.
it does, because it's like if your parents pass, then your family that's left is your brother,
Right. Or
and you
your parents
don't.
will pass. Your parents will pass. That's the
Yes,
thing.
when they pass,
When they pass.
what's left is that the rest of the family. So it's like how you handle this is really crucial, or how your brother handles this. I don't wanna make it fully her responsibility to figure it out and it's both siblings' responsibilities.
Well, you better figure it out now, because parents don't go together. And so like I said,
Mhm.
when my father passed, there was, we were still young enough, and it wasn't a burden. And I'm not saying that mom was a burden, but it was more challenging, because when my father passed, we were all in our 20s and 30s and mom was young, where when my mother passed, we're in our 50s and 60s. And so,
Mhm.
and for some people, they're older than that trying to take care of an elderly parent. And so you have to figure this out now, because it's only going to get more challenging from here. They're only going to get less healthy. One of them will pass before the other. And so
Well, and that's assuming that they're together. A lot of people are growing old as singles. So I'm watching it in my family. My parents are still married and will take care of each other for longer, right? Than before it becomes the responsibility of me and my brother to care for them because they have each other. And I watch it play out on my husband's side of the family, and his parents are both still living, but they are divorced and they are both single. So they require separate care. And they're actually friends now. So they sometimes try to take care of each other, but we're getting to a point where that's probably not a great idea. you
Mhm,
know,
right.
so it's like
But there's
everybody's
there's
family
also a
dynamic is
difference.
different.
It is, but there's also a difference when there's just one parent left. Even if they're separated, even if they're not living together, I don't know, there's an emotional, like, because
Mm,
there is an emotional toil that takes place. Like,
mhm,
went to a doctor's appointment recently, and it was in a doctor's, it was a routine appointment, catching up, now that I'm vaccinated, on all my doctor's appointments. And it was attached to a hospital in town. And when my mother lived here, the hospital was one of the places that she stayed. And so I remember being there for, because she got pneumonia when she was in Atlanta. And so she had a long stay in the hospital. And I just remember that I associate that hospital with her. So when I went to the doctor's appointment, I just got this ping of missing mom. So I went into the gift shop and just bought something, a Halloween thing, just because in honor of her, because that's what I would be doing now if she was here or whatever. So I don't know. I just felt I miss mom, and so I went and did it. And that's the thing, when you miss your parent, like it's just it's still it's weird. It's just a weird experience. You'll never get over it. You just will never get over it because it's so odd. But anyway, I walked into the store and I just felt the need to say something to these women. Like, in a hospital gift shop, it's usually older women. And so and they were like, "Oh, well, what brings you in here today?" and stuff. And I said, "I miss my mom. And she'd been in the hospital before and she's no longer with us." And the woman I was talking to just nodded, and the woman behind the counter turned to me, and there's this knowing look. And so they were like, "We know exactly what you mean." And so we started talking about how there's a club. It's a club of people.
Mhm.
In our case, it was we were close with our mothers, and so we missed our mom. And it was just life is life is so different without her. It's just a different. I'm different. I'm forever changed because she's no longer here. So I think that you have to incorporate that into what's gonna happen, because there's such an emotional thing, and my siblings and I have handled it completely differently. Like,
Mm.
my sister is more busybody, she's the one that's taken charge of making sure everything is, all the business of my mother's death is done, and she's done a great job. Normally, she would not be that person, God love her, she's not the most organized person, but she has been on top of it. But I know that's how she's processed this, right? She's just
Mm.
stayed busy. And for me, it's, I don't know. I just I'm it's hard to explain. I'm just kind of half in the clouds most of the time. Just it's just a weird experience. And my brother just doesn't talk about it. But we love each other enough to know we allow that space to be different, to be that. So anyway, it's a long monologue I'm giving. I don't mean to do that. But Tamara, I think with your brother, this resentment, like Jen says, got to go. This anger's gotta go. You've got to accept him for who he is. You've got to make sure that what you're willing to do for your parents is what you're willing to do without any compensation, without any thank yous, and be okay with that, and move forward in this journey, because it's a tough one. I mean, them both still being here and just not being able to drive is the easy part.
Mm.
It's only gonna get harder from here.
It's a great perspective. I wouldn't have thought of it from that emotional, empathetic way. I'm like, well, tell him to get to the doctor.
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
like to me, I'm more on the practical side of it because I haven't gone through it yet.
Yeah, it's hard, it's hard. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a relief now because there are times I think we don't have to my siblings and I don't have to have these conversations anymore. They're tough conversations to have, and there's times I initiated the conversations, um, and it's uncomfortable, but it has to be
Yeah.
done. And I think in this case, unfortunately, Tamara, it looks like you have taken on the role of being the leader of this healthcare, of this, taking,
Mhm.
healthcare of your parents. And so, anyway, and again, hopefully this, I know it's a long answer, but we all can relate. And
Mhm.
again, I would love for people to email us their responses, right? Jen at thefrenzy.com and Melissa at thefrenzy.com. Because I know I'm sure every single person listening to this is going through it or has gone through it and has some
Mhm.
advice for Tamara too. So I'd love a way for them to be able to give their advice too.
Yeah, definitely email us. And if you ever have a Dear Frenzy question, we can share your question anonymously, or, we can bat it around here on the Frenzy and see if we can help you work through a situation. We'd love to hear from you.
All right. Well, Jen has this week's mirror mantra.
We celebrate friendship here on the Frenzy, right? That's what it is all about. And so here is this week's mirror mantra, and I'll explain why.
Okay.
If you're ready to offer the olive branch, be the first to reach out.
Okay.
So, at this stage of life, we have all been through some stuff, right? And I'm guessing if you're listening to this right now, there's been some conflict somewhere, whether that's with a friend, whether that's a family member, whether that's an ex relationship, a coworker, whatever. Something's gone south, right? Something has been broken, or a situation that you've been through requires potential forgiveness or a reconciliation. So
Mhm.
that's going to be different for everybody. But I recently had a situation with a friend, and Melissa knows this friend,
Okay.
where things had gone off course over several years. But I was the one who was ready to offer the olive branch
Mhm.
and reach out. And I consulted Melissa's advice before doing so. So you know what I'm talking about. And
I
you
do.
gave me great advice. You said, if the sentiment is authentic and genuine, you said that's how it will be received.
Yes.
So with this friend, I wrote a very nice long card, because, an email didn't seem right, a phone call seemed too intrusive, a text message seemed too
Well, and
flippant.
Jen is old school. She is handwritten
Yeah.
card mama, like, you're
I'm
really
like
good
the
about
thank you
that.
note. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, with little kids, it's hard to stay on top of all that. Um,
right.
but I traditionally in my life have been a card writer. And so I wrote a nice long card and sent it, and like with a real stamp in the mail, sent it. And I didn't hear anything back for a long time. And I just thought, well, Melissa's right. The sentiment that I sent out into the world, like, let's just hope that that's what was received. And then, sure enough, a few days ago, I got a text message from this friend who said that they were very touched by the sentiment, and the kind words were received in the right way.
Yeah.
So it was a good feeling to be the one that reached out with that olive branch, because if I ever happen to run into this friend again, it'll all be good.
Yeah.
And
No, I absolutely love that story. I love you did that, and I think that as we get older, we have to understand that, yes, the sentiment has to be right. It's like I said to Tamara earlier, you can't expect to receive anything in return. If you are willing to give without
Mhm.
receiving, then you're in the right spot. But too many times, I think for women, because we're so emotionally based, we just want things to be comfortable again. So
Mhm.
and I've made this mistake many times in relationships where I will reach out with not an authentic olive branch. I want the tension gone. And then when I don't get what I want in return, then I get even more angry and I make it worse. So I think
Mm.
so I think that yes, you have to check yourself first and make sure that the reason you're doing it is right. Then tell yourself, if I never hear from this person or it doesn't work out, I'm good because I did my part and I did what was right by me. And then, but I think usually 9 times out of 10, when you're in that space, things will work out the way you want them to.
Yeah, because you're right. It was just about offering that feeling. It was not about what was I gonna receive in return. It was like, I'm just gonna send this into the universe and see what happens,
And
and
then
I'm
you got a
okay
And
if
then
I
you got
never hear back.
yes, and you
Yeah.
got a great thing in return. It's funny how life works that way. Like,
Yeah.
life usually gives you opposite of what you expect. So
Yeah.
when you expect
I
something good, something
no.
bad usually happens, and then when you're like, it's like, Shawshank Redemption when, Red I don't remember if you remember that movie, but, like, he
Yeah.
was up for parole over and over again, and he was trying to do what he thought was right, say the right words, and he always got rejected, and then finally he's like, "You know what? Screw it. You're gonna do what you're gonna do anyway. I'm not the same person I was, but whatever." And then they let him go, right? So you just have
Right.
to dig deep and get to that
Mhm.
place,
Yep.
you
You're
know?
absolutely right. So that's your mirror mantra, and maybe you, switch it around and say, "If I'm ready to offer the olive branch, I'll be the first to reach out."
Absolutely. Congratulations on that, reconciliation too. All right, well, if you enjoyed this episode of The Frenzy, please share it with a friend. We would love for more friends like you to find out about our show.
And if you're enjoying the Frenzy podcast, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you are listening. And if you leave us a review, that's really great too.
Yeah, we'd love that. And check out our Friendsy YouTube channel with videos, extended interviews, as well as bloopers.
And we'd love for you to follow the Frenzy on Instagram. And you can DM us with your Dear Frenzy questions, any feedback on the show, any topics or guests that you would like us to have on the Frenzy. Let us know.
That's right. And here is your reminder to share your story. Open up about your story with trusted friends. It's good to get it out and also develop those relationships with other people because your story matters.
The Frenzy is hosted and produced by Melissa Carter and Jen Hobby.
Sound editing by Bo Johnson. Original soundtrack produced by Tammy Hurt for Placement Music, written and recorded by Mark Daniels.
The Frenzy is part of the Digitent Podcast Network. And the Frenzy celebrates friendships over 40. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. We love your friendship.
All right, until next week, trust your gut
Share your story
and
and
stop
stop
lying
lying
about
about
your
your
age.
age.
You're perfect just the way you are. And we'll see you next
Celebrate it.
We'll see you in a couple days.